What's up guys, I wanted to take a look at some of the latest benchmarks for the Snapdragon 800 series from Qualcomm. This is their latest system on a chip and it's going to be in a lot of upcoming hardware, and I wanted to see how it compared to that of the Tegra 4, so let's check it out. We'll scroll down right here, and obviously they're built slightly differently. The Tegra 4 has the Cortex A15 cores, whereas the Snapdragon has the Crate 400 cores. The Cortex A15 cores are more powerful in terms of performance, but they're not quite as battery efficient as the Crate 400 cores. Now, this is the Geekbench 2.4 test, and this is a CPU test, so we can see how they perform right here. The orange mark is the Snapdragon 800 clocked at 2.3 GHz. The maroon mark here is the Tegra 4 clocked at 1.9 GHz. And you can see from the overall test right here, you can see that the Tegra 4 is edging the Snapdragon 800 in terms of CPU performance. So even though the Snapdragon has a higher clock rate, those Cortex A15 cores are just powering home the Tegra 4 for the win. So that's quite interesting right there. And you can also see how it compares to the Nexus 10 in blue here and the iPad 4. Now obviously the iPad 4 is a year old, so take that into account. We will be seeing a new iPad pretty soon, and it will obviously have beefier specs, so don't take too much of what the iPad 4 can do right here. If we scroll down, we can see the Geekbench scores, and these are the GPU tests. Now the Snapdragon comes with the new Adreno 330, which is a big increase from the Adreno 320 we have right now. And you can see it right here. This is the off-screen test, and the Snapdragon scores 68 FPS compared to the Tegra 4's 57. So that's an 11 FPS difference, and that is actually quite a big difference in terms of performance. So the Adreno 330 GPU in the Snapdragon is going to be something to beat. It's going to be quite a beast. We should get smoother UI performance, smoother gameplay, all that sort of stuff. You can also see how it compares to the Nexus 10 and the iPad 4. Just note the iPad 4's 52 FPS. This is basically a year old and it scored 52 FPS. That is quite a strong GPU. That's what I've always been saying. The iPad 4 has always had the strongest GPU right now, and it's going to get beaten by the Snapdragon 800 and the Tegra 4, but it will be interesting to see what the iPad 5 has. Will it increase it by 2 times or not quite as much? We'll have to wait and see. Now, basically what we can take from these tests is the Tegra 4 looks like it has a slightly stronger CPU, but the Snapdragon 800 has a stronger GPU, so that's quite interesting. We don't know much about power consumption. We'll have to wait a little bit more to see which one's better on battery life. But if I had to guess, I'd say they might be quite similar, because we have the Cortex A15, which are more powerful but more battery consuming, but it has a lower clock rate, so that should save some battery, whereas the Snapdragon 800 has a higher clock rate, which will always use a little bit more battery because it has a higher voltage. So we'll have to wait and see on that one. Nonetheless, we're looking at two of the best system on a chips to come out of Nvidia and Snapdragon. These are going to be powering all our latest devices. It's going to be very strong. We'll have to wait and see what Apple bring out. But yeah, I'm quite excited about the Adreno 330. Let me know what you guys think about these benchmarks. Obviously, they are just numbers. You know, we'll see how it translates into real-world performance when they come out. But nonetheless, it's interesting. Peace out.